Well, greetings. Recently, I reviewed the new FoMaKo 20X SDI camera, which is sort of their entry-level basic PTZ camera, and I declared it actually quite good, very good. And if you haven't seen that video, I invite you to go back and watch it. I especially like how it did its color representations. It's really one of the best that I have tested so far. Now, they reached out again and asked if I'd be interested in looking at something else. This guy, which is their PTZ controller, which if you're gonna have a PTZ camera, it makes sense to have a PTZ controller. Now, again, the standard disclaimer, I did not buy this. They sent it to me to review, but I promise nothing, and I promise you that I am honest in as much as I can be in all of my reviews, but I just wanna be upfront for that in the beginning. However, I was excited to look at this because I haven't actually looked at a lot of controllers. I have the one that we ourselves purchased here and I have been using, and I'm curious how this one is going to compare, both paired with FoMaKo's own cameras and also the other variety of cameras that we use in this place. So, why don't we crack this thing open, get it out of the box, and put it through its paces. All right, here we go. This is the FoMaKo PTZ controller. I have actually seen this box before, and I've noticed it doesn't actually have any FoMaKo branding on it anywhere as far as the box goes, which is not, totally unsurprised given that these are all, made in some factory somewhere. But right off the bat, we've got their PTZ camera IP controller user manual. And again, this is in color. And it's nice, seems to be nicely done, which I like. So we got that, which is good. We got, this is, I imagine, various adapters. Oh, this would be our power adapter. So you got a barrel plug, connector, and a wall wart style. I do believe this will run PoE. So if you just want to do a single cable install with power over Ethernet, I do believe you can do that. All right, pull out our protective film here. And then we've got the controller itself in this rather nice bag. Again, these things are well packaged, which is good given how far away they're coming from. All right, I'm gonna set the box down over there. All right, so here is the controller itself, and it does have some FoMaKo branding on it. They did do that, and seems to be a fairly standard layout on how it's working here. But let me set it down and see if we can't get a slightly better angle on this. All right, well, first thing we're gonna do is, of course, remove the film. That is always satisfying. And I'm just going to take a quick look and give you some initial impressions of what I'm seeing on the layout. I mean, all these things work pretty much the same. We have our standard joystick here for up, down, and left, right. The PTZ speed is always nice if you want to do a slower or faster tilt to have that adjustment there. We have focus knobs, it looks like. I really like that. So this is your focus knob and this is your iris knob. So this is how much exposure you're getting. This is where your focus is. Most of the time on some of the controls, these are buttons, basically a focus up, focus down, that kind of thing, near ear in, out. Having them as knobs, I think, is going to be really nice. So that is a nice feature. We seem to have a separate zoom on a nice rocker switch there. That actually feels pretty good. Joystick feels pretty good. There's your autofocus and then your auto exposure buttons, so that when you're playing with your focus and you get it all messed up, go back and hit the autofocus button. That's there, right there. That's nice. Camera, on-screen display, and home. I'm curious how those work, and if they work, and how they work with your cameras, and if they'll work over the Ethernet network connection. So that'll be an interesting thing to play with. Otherwise, the same kind of setup you have in most of these. There's your cam, so recalling which cam you want to, control. There's your preset, recalling which preset you want to control. Usually it's something like preset 1, enter. I imagine this is going to work in the same way. This I really like. So these are preset hotkeys for cam 1, cam 2, cam 3, and cam 4. Instead of having to go cam 1, enter, you can just go cam 1, cam 2, cam 3, cam 4, and cycle between your cameras and which one you're controlling. That is a very nice feature, and you wouldn't believe how old it gets, especially if you're doing a lot of changing around, even those 3 button presses versus just the 1 button press. Most places are going to run 4 or less cameras, so having those hotkeys right there, I can tell you right now, I really like. Couple things that this one is missing. You've got a simple LED right here that is obviously the way you kind of set it up and control what's going on, which means there's no preview. So you're not getting a video preview on the controller itself, like you may in some other ones. Now, the controller we use in our daily production does have a preview window on it and will show you the video from the camera you're controlling. It is helpful for that because it helps you know which camera you're controlling. Honestly, it's not helpful for much beyond that because, frankly, the quality on those built-in screens is so low that even using it to try to get a decent focus or decent exposure is pretty difficult because, again, the quality just isn't there. So I will show you some video on how our current setup is and why it is that we actually rarely, if ever, use the preview screen anymore. All right, so first impressions, this is really good. It's got a lot of features I do like. It's got some heft to it. Like, this is kind of a heavy unit. I'm guessing that this is actual, metal, aluminum, my probably guess, and so I do like that. So here on the back we have a pretty basic set of ports. There's your Ethernet, which is most everybody's going to do because anymore we all use OnViz or Visco or one of those things. If you do have the old RS422 connector, you've got that. If you got the RS322 connector, which is a serial connector, you've got that. Most places are going to use this, and then you've got your standard 12-volt in and your power switch. So yeah, all in all, I'm going to say the build quality looks good. The buttons feel good. All the switches and stuff feel good. And they definitely have fixed some issues that I've seen with other cameras. And I will say that that's so far been a kind of a highlight of the FoMaKo products, both this and their camera, is they do seem to be addressing a lot of the kind of everyday usability issues that people can sometimes have, with these quick links. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually get it hooked up. I'm going to hook it up to my network. I'm going to hook it up to my camera over there and see how that goes. All right, as I expected, when I plugged in a power over Ethernet network source, it just fired right up, which is great. It does have this one weird quirk that a lot of these have, which is there's a power button on the back that I'm flipping right now. And as you can see, it totally ignores it. It won't ignore it when it's on own power on its power adapter, but when it's over PoE, it totally ignores it and it's just on. So that's a weird little quirk of these guys. All right, so when I booted it up, it did come right up to this screen, and as you can see, it's displaying the IP address that it comes with. And this is a FoMaKo standard. They all seem to come defaulting to this 192.168.5 subnet, or IP address setup, which I guess is okay. I never understood why these things don't boot into DHCP in the first place. It's not like it really matters where this thing, what IP address this thing has, but I guess that's what they do. All right, after a little bit of playing with it and realizing I made the boneheaded mistake of not actually having this thing plugged into my network. The PoE was plugged into power, but it actually wasn't plugged into the network. Once we did that, things worked out. Now, I did find out there is a way to do DHCP, so you don't have to do a manual IP address if you don't want to, and I don't want to. You can do DHCP, which is great, and then when it boots up, it tells you what IP address it's been given, so if you do want to access the backend features, you can. All right, it's also telling me that I have it on OnViv mode, which is what I want to use, because that's what I use for all my cameras here. And supposedly I can just hit this search button. I do like that it lights up green. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. It lights up green while it's doing something, while you're interacting with it, so you know something's going on. That's great. All right, it says search 01 out of 4. That's perfect. There are 4 OnVid cameras on my network right now, so that's what I would expect it to find. I'm going to look for this guy, number 44, because that should be the one sitting on the counter here. So we're going to say enter on that one. User, I don't have any user information password set up, and I want that to be cam number 2. I like that it asks you that. A lot of these auto allocate the cam number. I like that it likes to ask you the cam number. All right, so that is set up now, so I should be able to hit the cam 2 button. It says connecting. Oh, user password error on VIF. I bet I do have a password on there. Hold on. All right, I did mess up. There wasn't a username and password in there. Once I added that, came right up, hit cam 2. This is pretty sweet. So cam 2 stays illuminated, so I know that's the camera that I'm on, which is great. It lets me know that I have auto function and auto AE, as options. Camera OSD does not light up, so I'm not sure if that's an option or not. And then I've got some other things set up, but if I... and it is moving my camera over there. All right, I'm going to change things around a little bit here so you can see on the screen what it is that I'm doing with the camera. All right, so I have the controller all hooked up. As you saw, it's hooked up to the FoMaKo camera here, and everything works the way that you would kind of expect it to. I've got it pointed at my test card here. There's my zoom control using the twist feature on the knob. It also has a separate zoom control in this little rocker switch right here, which could be handy if you wanted to, both tilt it. If you wanted to be able to, do it two-handed, I guess. I don't know. It is a nice feature. Otherwise, I would say it kind of works as you would expect. It works as a controller. On the whole, I like it. So we can play again with our focus here. We can make it really unfocused. Yeah, that knob is nice to have. And then of course we can go ahead in the autofocus button and bring it back into focus. We can open our exposure up if we want to. And then go back to auto exposure if that's what we want to do. Yeah, so on the whole, I do like it. There are two function buttons in here, F1, F2. If you're controlling on OnViv mode, you can send special OnViv commands to it. That's a pretty deep cut though for most people, because you actually have to put in the numerical OnViv command that you want it to execute to use those. So are most people going to use those? Probably not. Same if you're using Visca as control, because a lot of these cameras will do both OnViv and Visca. This will do OnViv and Visca. It's up to you and your preference how you want to use that. I think Visca is a little bit of a newer technology, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. So things I like about it on the whole is those quick keys seem really good. I think if I were an operator using this on a daily basis, it would feel good. The fact that it is pretty heavy means it's not going to slide around on your desk while you're using it, which is good. And overall, the features seem pretty solid, and the setup was remarkably easy to set up once I actually got it properly hooked into my network, which was totally my fault, not the fault of the controller. Things I don't like: it doesn't have the preview window, which is sometimes handy. That would be nice to have. It doesn't do NDI level control, which is obviously the newest protocol for controlling cameras is NDI. Not every camera has or can do NDI. So, we've got a little bit of a challenge there. So maybe that's not the biggest deal, but I do kind of wish it could do that. And then finally, the biggest thing about this one is the price point. So this one, FoMaKo sells for about $560. They do have another one that is a little bit more basic, less features, doesn't have the separate zoom rocker switch and a few other things like that. That's more like $250. I would say that $250 price point is more in line with some of the competitors on the market. I believe the one that we use on a daily basis, which does have the preview window, but doesn't have the rocker switch and probably isn't as maybe robustly made as this, was somewhere in there. So I'd say that's the one kind of drawback on it, is the price. This does seem a little expensive. Now, if that means what you're buying is quality and it's going to last for a lot of years and it's, that kind of thing, then that's great. That seems to be the way. I haven't owned these for very long, so that's hard for me to say. They do seem well built. All the things seem quality. The knobs and the buttons and the way it lights up. And all of that. I mean, I do think they put a lot of thought and effort into this product. So if you just kind of are a little less cost conscious and just want something good and robust that is going to work, I would say this is a pretty good option in that regard. If you can get past that $560 price point, which is a bit high for for a controller. Now, I did try this with the other cameras. We have some Smart AV and the two Honey Optics cameras here. I connected to those just fine. It seems to be fairly agnostic as far as what the camera on the receiving end is, as long as it supports one of those standards on Vivisca or whatever you happen to be using. So all in all, I'd say I'm pretty impressed with it, and seems to do its job and do its well, and has a couple extra bells and features and some nice features for what it is, and they really did obviously take some of the actual user experience into consideration. So if you're looking for a controller, I would say this is a good one, again, if you can get past that price point on it. All right, well, I hope you found this video useful. There are links in the description that really do help support this channel. If you're looking to purchase anything that we talked about in this video, if you can purchase through one of those links, that helps us out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if there's something you want me to review or take a look at, let me know. I'm always interested in what people are out there or the questions they have. If there's something you're worrying about or wondering about that you'd love to get some information on, please just post that in a comment, and I'm happy to see what I can find out for you. All right, well, until we see each other again, thank you for joining me. Hey everybody, if you found that video helpful, please hit like and subscribe, and also check the video description for links to any products you've seen in today's videos. Doing that really helps support this channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment with any questions that you may have. A lot of the content I do is based directly on the questions and the feedback you give, so keep that coming and I will keep making them. Thank you.